Hi, welcome to my channel. I'm Logan Donahoo, and today I decided to talk about the local voting election. Am I phrasing that right? Anyway, the local election. We have primaries here in Orlando coming up before the November election. In particular, this one has a lot to do with a lot of local candidates, judges, who the state attorney's going to be, and all sorts of other things that really impact our local environment and political landscape and what really impacts us on a day-to-day basis. In a lot of ways, local elections are as important, if not more so, than a national election. National elections are still important, but really everything from what laws are going to be enforced in what way, down to how the police treat people, down to who gets prosecuted in what way in your own courtrooms, all gets decided by these elections. So I wanted to make a little video about how important that is. But as always, I want to thank all the people that sponsored this video. You can see more about that at the end of the video. So, since we're in the middle of the end times right now with COVID, I got my vote by mail ballot. Yes, that is my actual God-game birth name, Logan Donahoo. I didn't make this stuff up. I did what any normal person would do, and I researched my candidates and did so live on Twitch over a 3.5-hour stream because I'm not obsessive. What's that? I ended up looking up information on all the different candidates because I wanted to have a pretty open mind. And aside from one in particular, I had a pretty open-ended feeling about all the different candidates and wanted to see really what they had to say for themselves and why they wanted that said office. So let me go over who was on my ballot, and if you're like me here in the Central Florida area, whom I think you should hopefully vote for as well. Before we get started, I want to talk about how I came to my decisions. One, some of them I've seen around, I've read their literature, I've seen them speak at events, but for the most part, there's a couple different ways you can look up information about who your candidates are. One, there is vote411.org. This is a website run by the League of Women Voters, which if you're unfamiliar with them, they're a really awesome organization, and they've put together these ballot questions asking various people who are on your ballot questions about their job, how they see that the world should work in general, what their ethos is going into things. This is especially helpful on judges, which especially on judge positions, the only information you're going to get from their websites are, I believe in justice, which fine, but what else? They really probe all the way in there and get some really good answers out of people on their website. Also, I would advise the ACLU. Depending on where you live, your local chapter of the ACLU might have interviewed various candidates. Here in Florida, they actually put one together from the ACLU of Florida. You can look more information about that here on the screen, or you can go into the below area. I have both links for vote411.org and also the ACLU website here in Florida about all these different candidates. So hopefully you can learn more about it. Also, you can learn more directly from those candidates' own websites. They usually speak for themselves, most cases. Or, in particular, you can go to Ballotpedia and find out who a politician that you really believe in has endorsed. Some politicians this year have endorsed several candidates, some not so many. But you can actually find out more about who these different candidates feel are important for your community, and hopefully will be in line with what they have been campaigning on all along on the national level. By the way, the people that are on my ballot because I'm registered as Democrat, because I'm taking it upon myself to try to save the Democratic Party. But you know, whatevs. Your ballot may or may not look different depending on what part of the state, the nation. It's going to look very different if you're outside of Florida altogether. Some of these candidates might not be on there at all. Some of them may be, because some races are nonpartisan. But those resources I linked below, they will either work for your area, no matter where you are in the nation, or there's local equivalents like the ACLU website. So, without further ado, let's get into some of the candidates. First on the list is state attorney. In some areas it's called district attorney. DA, you might hear thrown around. What that is the local prosecutor that really enforces what the laws are in court. They really prioritize what laws they're going to be tough on in the local courts. And they have a lot of leeway about what they are going to choose to pursue more harshly, or which ones they're going to kind of let slide because they know it doesn't really help the environment, it doesn't help keep anyone safer or anything like that. So out of all the candidates for that one, I voted for Monique Worrell, hashtag I'm with Mo. For those that are unfamiliar, this is a whole stack of mailers I got from her and her campaign and various other associated ones. In particular, there's one from the ACLU. The ACLU of Florida made this mailer where they write off to different candidates and ask them to fill out a voter information survey. And they asked them very pointed questions on certain things. And Monique was the only one that answered yes to every single one of their proposed reforms that they, as the ACLU, feel would help keep people safer and also not clogging up our legal system with low-level petty crimes like possession of marijuana under 20 grams and other stuff like that. Monique is the only one that actually said yes to helping reform all of that, because she knows district attorney, state attorney in our case, can really help with that sort of thing. Only one that said yes, everyone else said no, or one in particular refused to answer at all. That really says a lot. So I'm not even going to say their name if they're going to refuse to answer the ACLU. By the way, Monique Worrell has been endorsed by Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, and Kamala Harris, of all people. I know, they actually all stand behind her on what she's trying to get done. So if you've heard of those names or care about those names, you might want to look into Monique as your candidate for sheriff. I voted for Andrew Darling. Out of all the different candidates, Andrew Darling, first off, was the only one who answered that ACLU survey, agreeing with all the different reforms that they proposed that they feel would help the local community, keep us safe and free, while the other candidates said straight up either no or kind of waffled back and forth on some issues. Check out their answers below. Andrew has a law background and he actually has worked in political campaigns before, so hopefully he ends up making it into office now for himself. The current one, John Mina, is not a candidate I can stand behind. Yeah, he has really cool photos of him kneeling with the Black Lives Matter protesters. And then, the same day, he ended up getting people tear gassed because they were peacefully doing a sit-in after hours. I'm good. Thanks, Mina. That's cute. You can go now. Hence why I'm saying support Andrew Darling. He really is the one that is supporting all these things that I hold near and dear to my heart. Onward to Property Appraiser. Now, Property Appraiser sounds like a weird position to be on your ballot, but it is actually an elected position. I voted for Amy Mercado. Out of all the different candidates, she was, again, the only one that had really good, substantial questions to that Vote 411 League of Women Voters survey. Also, she's endorsed by everyone, including Anna Escamani and Carlos Guillermo Smith, both local representatives here from the Orlando area, which are very progressive-minded and very cool. And for them to endorse her sits heavily with me. Also, look at her little transgender pride pin. Look at her. She's not transgender, but she's supportive. Meanwhile, the current one, Rick Singh, is fine. He's fine. He wasn't embroiled in a scandal. It's cool. All of his different things coming out against Amy Mercado, which really is his only political enemy. Try making her look ugly, or try bringing up that she had a foreclosure one time. Guess what? A lot of people have had foreclosures. We're good, Rick. Thanks. So, circuit court judges. Long story short, in the state of Florida, they consider different areas, different quote-unquote circuits. They're different judicial areas throughout the state. And locally, the whole Orange Osceola area is thought of as one area. That's called Circuit 9. The best way of looking up the circuit court judges, like I said, is to go to their own websites, or in particular, go to that vote411.org website where you can compare their identical interviews to identical questions. And all of them really have detailed answers as to why they feel that way, or they're afraid that it might look bad for them to go into something. They might demur for legal purposes, like they don't want to sound like they prefer one thing over the other. They want to look equal as much as possible. So, out of their answers and their endorsements, here's who I ended up choosing for the circuit judge picks. In group 1, I ended up choosing Rhiannon Arnold. All of her answers really were good. In group number 21, I went with Alan Apte. In group 34, I went with Mike Kraynick. And in group 39, I voted for Vincent Falcone. Again, all of these candidates' answers were way more substantial, way more detailed than the other candidate, and I really felt like they would be doing the best work of justice amongst our community. So I went with those. Again, come to your own decisions on these. Last but not least on my ballot, I had the district commissioner. That's the person that basically represents your district in the county government. So for my district, I ended up voting for Mayra Uribe. She's done a really good job so far. Her website and her interviews really went into detail about how she tries to advocate for our area, and really she's in charge of a really large chunk of what the heart of Central Florida is, as far as where the residents live. District 3, which goes all the way from South Orlando through what downtown Orlando proper is, for the most part, all the way into almost the Winter Park area. She's a really cool candidate that's done really good things, and I want to see her stay in office. Remember, for this primary election, the election day is August 18th, so if you're doing your mail-in ballot like me, turn it in as soon as possible. Give it a few extra days to get there. Or, I know last time, if you drove right into the Orange County Supervisor of Election office, you could just drive on through, hand off your ballot, and you're done. By the way, in certain areas, including Orange County, if you're leery about your mail getting there in time or properly, you can actually track your envelope, and it actually tells you if it got there safely or not on the website under the Vote by Mail information page. It's really cool. I like that. Lessens the anxiety that's always there. Always there. If you want to vote in the general election coming up this November 3rd, you have to register in the state of Florida by October 5th. As long as you get that in time and your actual thing is postmarked by that time, you're good to go. All of information on how to register to vote, no matter where you are, down below. So those are all my different picks on my ballot. Again, your ballot might look different. I know there are school board members and others that you can look up for yourself and hopefully pick the right one. See what's important to you. Look for words and phrases that really do mean what they're saying. If someone in a school board is talking about safe schools for all students, they might be talking about LGBT issues. If someone is talking about protecting our environment on roadways, they might be talking about actual environmental protections and why they're going to advocate for that while we build I-4 or whatever. These things are really important for our area, so look further into them and come to your own conclusions and stay involved in your politics. I hope you enjoyed hearing my opinions. Let me know who you're voting for and why in the comments below. That's interactive. That's what YouTube people are supposed to be doing, right? Anyway, thank you for tuning in. I hope to talk to you guys soon. Bye. All of my stuff is sponsored by these awesome patrons here on Patreon, including Christina Pines and many others. So if you'd like to support my work, please, by all means, you can go to patreon.com and do as such. Thank you so much, and hope to see you guys again soon.